it's your girl Samantha with Black Nation News, and I needed to do this video because I am so, I don't know, is it just me, but I am so tired of hearing about the Taliban in Afghanistan and their problems over there. And the reason why I'm upset about this, like having to hear about this, is because I was in the military. My whole family is prior military. We're all veterans. We served our country. And we have a lot of outstanding service members who served their country very well. A lot of our comrades lost their lives, and we were in Afghanistan and Iraq for like 20 years. Like how, and so now we just recently pulled out, and you have people mad at President Biden for pulling us out of there, which should have needed to happen. Because I wanted to say, I think Trump wanted to pull us out too, and they were mad at him. And I'm like, we're not going to be like over there defending a whole other country forever. We cannot do that. And as President Biden said, it is not in our national interest to be over there forever. It wasn't our job to be like becoming a civil, basically inserting ourselves in their civil war. We have our own problems here in America. Okay, and I know that may sound cold, but I don't care. We spent 20 years helping Afghanistan get themselves together. We trained their people, and then their people just allowed the Taliban to just overrun them. And I'm like, for one, honestly, I feel like they should have trained more people. I'm just like a little bit annoyed because I'm just like, where was the intel? Why didn't people know that there was like 75,000 Taliban members or troops or whatever? And then they said also that they actually the Taliban broke into a prison and freed the prisoners and allowed them to join the Taliban forces, the military force. So they just wilding out over there. But they needed, like, America and all of our allies who was over there forever. We should have did better in like making sure they had the numbers. But also, like President Biden said, they just don't have the will to want to defend their country and fight for their country. That ain't something we can give you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm so sick of seeing like all these like female, they're probably from Afghanistan, news correspondents or people from over there, Pakistan, Iraq, though they're Indian, they're from over there. And I know there's one is Naira. She is on a Black news channel. And I'm like, for one, why do we have a non-Black news anchor on the Black news channel? And like most of the people on there I've noticed are either African or they don't look like black. They're not dark skinned. They're all light skinned, looking biracial or two once removed from being white. And okay, yeah, right. And of course we know the Black news channel is not even owned by Black people, which is a hot mess in itself. So they had Nair on there. She's one of the news anchors on the Black News Channel. And then I know I saw another female correspondent. I think she was on CNN. And they both staying on code. And they're like, we're so mad at America. Like, even when the guy was asking Naira questions about, he was asking her something about like racism in America. He was something along those lines on the Black News Channel. I'll try to find the sort of segment if I can. But she just like did not even answer his question. She went back to complaining about America leaving Afghanistan, and I'm like, well, we're supposed to just move over there? Do you want us to just have a base over there? Because your country is way too unstable for us to be over there. And
from the country in less than 3 weeks. We've been talking about this a lot lately, and the White House says that the U.S. Embassy will remain open. But what are you hearing?
Well, the truth is that the United States has pretty much completed its withdrawal as of last month. 95% of the troops are gone, and at the moment, really only minimal forces left to protect the U.S. Embassy. Bagram Air Force Base had been turned over to the Afghans last month as well. The Taliban also knew that this was going to happen, so they have been preparing for this offensive. Unfortunately, the people least prepared for this were the Afghan people who now are dealing with the fact that the Taliban, many of whom live and around them, are coming in as militants into their cities. So people are fleeing. They are headed towards the capital city of Kabul. And meantime, cities are just surrendering directly without a single shot fired. It's like the equivalent of LA, the equivalent of Houston, just being taken over by militants.
Wow, and we're talking about 4 administrations, thousands of American lives lost, and the Taliban is taking over key parts of the country. So on the surface, I mean, it just all seems like a huge disaster.
If you were under the impression that the goal of the United States being in Afghanistan was to fix all the problems of Afghanistan, then yes, it is absolutely a disaster. It is also a disaster for the young women and the girls who, in the last 20 years, grew up without a Taliban government, right? They were able to go to school. And actually, in the city that fell yesterday, Herat, majority of the people in the local universities were girls and young women. That is not the reality that the Taliban will bring. So that is an absolute humanitarian loss. But the United States has been very calculated in what it has said its mission turned into and what the mission remains. And that is preventing Afghanistan from becoming another place, a hotbed of terrorism that can launch an attack on the United States. So it started because of 9/11. As we head into 20 years of 9/11, it's now concluding in that way. Unfortunately, what we are seeing right now, this rapid decline, this evacuation of U.S. civilians, of diplomats, is not only ringing the alarm bells of this being another Vietnam in terms of the full, complete loss of a country, it is also potentially becoming the exact thing we've tried to avoid, which is a hotbed for future terrorist attacks.
And still, besides all that, President Biden says that he doesn't regret his decision. So how do you think this will all play out politically for him?
President Biden and President Trump were really being driven by public sentiment. And public sentiment has been tricky to gauge on Afghanistan because, by and large, only a limited number of people had to pay the price for this war, meaning it is an all-volunteer army. They have been engaged in cycles and rotations in and out of Afghanistan for 20 years. And because there has been no draft, most of us don't feel the impact of what it means to have had family members deployed. What we see is we see the numbers, we see the loss of life, we see the money that is spent, and we don't necessarily see the daily result or an obvious accomplishment resulting from that. So it's been the forever war in many respects. It's also largely been the forgotten war. So we have not seen polling necessarily change the attitudes, even as the Afghanistan is falling to the Taliban. Effectively, the American people have been done with this war and America's responsibility for it for a very long time.
So what happens to all of those people in Afghanistan who really helped us, or those who were trained there?
The people who helped the military most were the Afghan interpreters, were many of the people who hosted U.S. embassy events, stood up for democracy. Those are people who qualify for a special type of visa. Many of them, specifically the military interpreters, were promised that they would get residency in the United States in exchange for their service. The challenge we face now is that though they were all going through a massive security clearance process, only 500 have actually made it here to the United States after that clearance process, because the reality is, in order to have a clearance process, you have to show documentation. If you're living as a refugee in your own country right now, you don't necessarily have all the right paperwork. You definitely don't have a permanent address. And that's the challenge we're seeing at the moment. Part of the troop mission of evacuating U.S. civilians and diplomats is also to take the Afghan interpreters and people who have already qualified for these visas to also bring them to a third location to complete their process. But I'll just be very clear, Shannon, that's still about 10,000 people who qualify that will end up left behind.
I had no idea that number was that high. Let's hope they get to safety soon.
It's a 20-year war, and some of these people have been in the pipeline for 9 years.
Wow. All right, Nayuri Huck, thank you so much for that update. I'm sure you'll have more for us on The World Tonight, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Time.
The thing I'm mad about is we spent $2.2 trillion over there, guys. That is more than what we're asking for reparations, more than what we're demanding for building our country, America. Okay, America was not built by a nation of immigrants. It was built by slavery. That's what it was built off of, and that's what is still being strong. Like, the strongest import of it is slavery. They're still running America off the backs of black people. So miss me with the bullshit. Like, we have our own problems here in America. We don't have time to be over in everybody's damn country trying to fix all their damn problems for like 20 years. I mean, we were doing enough just going over there for a little bit of time that we was over there. And we were over there, as President Biden said, we were over there to get Osama bin Laden. Or whatever else, the U.S. government be shady as shit, so they probably was over there getting some oil. But you know what I'm saying. So we were supposed to be over there for what we was over there for, and we stayed longer to try to help stabilize that country and stabilize their democratic, like a democracy type government. And it's not our fault once we leave that you just run for the hills and let these bad guys take over your damn country. Y'all better band together like they're banding together, because from what I heard, we gave the Afghans like weapons and all kinds of shit, more stuff than black people get in here in America. So, and they also, on top of that, brought some Afghanistan people over here to America. How do we know they're not the enemy? How do we know we're not flying the enemy in? How do we know the enemy was not on that plane somewhere? So these are real questions we have to ask, because at the end of the day, let's not forget 9/11, right? Because white people always want to tell me never forget. Well, they ain't forgetting. And last time I checked, we were attacked by the Taliban or whomever, people that was from that country. That's why we were ordered to begin with. And so this is just a mess. The whole thing is a mess. It's a mess. And I am livid watching this. I'm like, we have too many problems in America. We don't have time to be all stressed in all over the damn globe, saving the day for everybody and their mama. You got to stand up at some point and save your own damn country. They just want, and they want to talk about black people, talking about our reparations. They sitting here on the news crying, wanting some handouts, wanting some shit for something they never earned. You did not build America. You don't have a right to be demanding to be coming over here. Like, they showed some people at the embassy, I think, or somewhere, like they got paperwork like, we worked with Americans and we worked in America. Yeah, because you needed a job, probably. Okay? Let's keep it 100. You needed a job, or you probably had your own, what do you call it, motive or motivation for why you're working, helping out America because of this. You knew America's gonna leave at some point. You probably working with Americans so you could have yourself some protection, because you knew we were going to train you, we were going to protect you, because we got to protect ourselves. So if you're in our buildings with us, we're going to protect you too. And so now they're like, I think I'm just angry because I'm like, you're ungrateful, because now you want to say, you want the handouts. You want us to stay over there forever. You want to complain because we had to leave at some point because we have our own country to run, and we have other issues like Haiti. Haiti has been destroyed by white supremacy, and they are going through hell right now. They just lost their president, was murdered. They're in complete disarray. They're going through natural disasters, earthquakes, and hurricanes, and you name it, it's happening. And I'm sorry, but Haiti was destroyed because of white folks in America and France. So we definitely owe them to go over there and help fix Haiti. So people want me to feel sorry for Afghans. Miss me with the bullshit. Your country's a mess because of you. Ain't nobody mess up your country like that except you. You have the power. You got to take your power back from the bad guys. And from what I heard, the Taliban's trying to act like they're going to be a good government. They're not going to be a nightmare. So we'll see how long that lasts. But they said they're knocking on doors. They're smiling. They're trying to pose themselves as being a worthy government administration, not just some terrorists just taking, because people are terrified. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I don't blame them, but I'm like, to me, if that's what they're doing, that's headed in the right direction. So let me read some of these updates to you guys on the latest that's coming from Afghanistan. This was published 12:46. It was updated. August 17th. So what you need to know: with the Taliban in control of Afghanistan, most countries are evacuating their citizens and shutting their embassies temporarily. The fate of many Afghan people who worked with foreign governments remains uncertain. The Taliban has promised an amnesty, but the details about this remain unclear. U.S. President Biden admitted that the collapse of Afghanistan's government unfolded more quickly than the U.S. anticipated, but he stood firm behind his decision to withdraw U.S. troops. And he said they thought that they were going, the Afghanistan government that the U.S. helped put in place, they honestly thought they would have at least a few months before they were overtaken. So it happened, like, I think they said in like a day. So the scene for in Kabul, as Afghan women grapple with the prospect of life under the Taliban, is pretty grim. You know, a lot of the women are terrified. So this is the busy Kabul street, looks almost as if nothing has changed. People rush by as shopkeepers arrange their colorful merchandise and police direct traffic. There's one big change, though. There are almost no women here. Since the Taliban took over the Afghan capital on Sunday, women have largely stayed indoors. The Taliban has repeatedly said that women's rights will be protected under their rule, but it is clear that many Afghan women are terrified by the prospect of life under the Taliban. Far fewer women are venturing out into the streets now compared to just a few days ago. Those who do brave the outside world tend to be dressed more conservatively than before, their faces often covered with niqabs or veils. Many of the educated, fearless women who spent the last decade building their careers are desperately looking for a way out, worried they may be targeted by the Taliban. This lady said, I'm thinking about my future, my daughters, what will happen to them if they kill me, 2 daughters without a mother, one woman told CNN. The woman who CNN is not naming for security reasons has worked for a number of international NGOs. She says she has spent days desperately pleading with them for help, but none has responded. It is not easy having more than 10 years experience of working with international organizations, and not one of them helped me, she said. For one clothing store in central Kabul, the Taliban takeover has meant a boost for business. So let me jump over to this. So she's pleading, again, for all this assistance, but everyone's always talking about black people looking for handouts, right? We actually built the country. We've actually been oppressed in this country for 500, 600 years. She needs to go through the typical process to get citizenship. If she wants to come over here because she feels like she's worked with these international organizations, whatever country she wants to work with. I mean, she worked in international organizations. I mean, she could apply, go to Germany, go to Canada, go anywhere, just like all the other Indians do when they come over to these other countries. So to me, it feels like, again, all these people want these handouts and you just want to flood your way over to America as if you're the only ones who need help. Because Haitians need help, people in Africa need help, and they don't let them just come over here. In fact, I think Biden sent a lot of Haitians back to Haiti while letting, Mexicans and everybody else come over here. And y'all want to know why that's a problem? Yeah, it's a problem because if you look at the census data, all they ever focus on is how the Latino group is growing so big and the white group is shrinking, and the black group is no longer the second largest quote unquote minority group in the country. So these are things we need to be focusing on and stop. We can't be blind to this. It's about the numbers. And I always tell my children, I speak very bluntly about a lot of things because I don't have time to play mince words and play games. It's strength in numbers. Strength in numbers. Conquer and divide. Divide and conquer. So you want your numbers to be strong. It does not benefit black Americans for non-black people to come into America. Period. So if you're sitting here trying to feel sorry for them, trust and believe they're not thinking about you. They're not feeling sorry for you. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves and them getting out of their shitty situation. But we live in a pretty shitty situation here in America as black people. We're hiding out as well because we're scared of being shot by police who should be protecting us. We're scared of being shot by regular ass white citizens who feel like they can do a citizen's arrest or a citizen's execution just because of the color of our skin. So we have our own water fight here in America. So this is why I'm like, miss me with the bullshit. That's your problem over there in Afghanistan. You need to deal with it. Y'all need to pick up guns, do what y'all need to do, fight, whatever. It's just not our problem. We spent 20, and people want to keep forgetting, we spent 20 fucking years over there. People died. A lot of people lost their loved ones. Americans and other countries, our allies, lost their loved ones to an effort that just went nowhere. We lost lives. We lost money. What were we doing over there if the government that we helped put in place just melts away time we leave? Because everybody wants us to prop them up. I'm not going to fucking prop you up forever. I just can't. I can't. Because nobody feels sorry for African Americans. They do polls in this country all the time about reparations, and everybody act like we don't deserve reparations. They don't want to pay us money, but you want to go over to Afghanistan, to some other foreign country, and drop $2.2 trillion. I mean, you hear all these non-black people on the news, and they're acting like they're so mad that of how Biden handled us exiting Afghanistan. And I'm just like, I'm thrilled. I'm happy. It's the best news I've heard all damn week. Like, my son is about to be going in the military. I don't want him over there. Period. I don't want him fighting any damn wars, especially if it's for someone who doesn't look like him. What will my child be doing over there? A black man who can't even barely live in his country in peace, over in Afghanistan, helping them build up their country, and him losing no, he's not going to lose his life in no Afghanistan. Fuck the dumb shit. So let me keep reading. So for one clothing store in central Kabul, the Taliban takeover has meant a boost for business. His owner told CNN he has sold many burqas in recent days. The garment covers the body from head to toe with a mesh panel over the eyes. It was mandatory attire for women when the Taliban last ruled in Afghanistan in the 1990s. Burqas became a far less common sight in Kabul over the past 2 decades, but the news that the Taliban is once again in charge has sparked an increase in sales. Taliban pledged no violence against women, but says international community should respect our core values. So Taliban spokesperson Zabihullah Mujahid said Tuesday that there would be no violence against women in Afghanistan and assured members of the international community that they should not be concerned on this matter, but added that they should respect the Taliban's core values on women. Talking about, like, why are they worried about women and what we're doing? I mean, why are they worried about the women in their country and what they're doing? Stay out their damn business. Ew. Bunch of grown-ass men in their business. Worried about them getting too much power. And that's another correlation I see with slavery. Like, they don't want their women in Afghanistan to know how to read, to educate themselves, because that means power. Knowledge is power. They don't want them to have any money. None of that. Just oppressing them still in 2021. It's disgusting. So talking about the rights of women is a change in approach from how the Taliban has approached the issue previously. However, Taliban officials did not go into detail, so the reality of what that will look like remains to be seen. When the Taliban captured Kabul in 1996, the Sunni Islamist organization put in place strict rules. Women had to wear head-to-toe coverings, weren't allowed to study or work, and were forbidden from traveling alone. It's ridiculous. TV, music, and non-Islamic holidays were also banned under the rule at the time. Our sisters and mothers, as has been said in Sharia law, which is our value, women are an important part of society, Mujahid said today during a televised press conference from Kabul. He provided no specific details about what the framework of Islamic law meant in their interpretation. Pressed on whether Afghan women will be able to go to work, Mujahid said that the rights of women will be determined within the framework of Sharia law. Yes, with regards to women, as I stated earlier, it will be within the framework of Sharia law in all sectors in society where they are required. It will be within this framework, Mujahid said. Basically, you're about to oppress them again. Okay, let me keep going. So there are many lessons to be learned from Afghanistan, NATO Secretary General says. The events of the last few weeks show military and political collapse at a speed which had not been anticipated. Jens Stoltenberg, NATO's Secretary General, said as he expressed deep sadness over the events unfolding in Afghanistan on Tuesday. Parts of the Afghan security forces fought bravely, but they were unable to secure the country because ultimately the Afghan political leadership failed to stand up to the Taliban and achieve the peaceful solution that Afghans desperately wanted, Stoltenberg told journalists at a virtual press conference. This failure of Afghan leadership led to the tragedy we are witnessing today, he added. Stoltenberg also addressed NATO's engagement in the country, saying it needs an honest assessment. He described the dilemma NATO allies faced around the decision to withdraw from Afghanistan. Troops could either leave and risk seeing the Taliban regain control or stay and risk renewed attacks and an open-ended combat mission, he said, adding, we never intended to stay in Afghanistan forever. Stoltenberg added that while the risk of the Taliban regaining control was clear when the bloc decided to end its military presence, the speed of the Taliban's seizure was a surprise. The big question to ask is why the forces which NATO trained, supported, and equipped weren't able to stand up to the Taliban in a stronger way, he said. NATO's focus currently is to ensure the safe departure of personnel from allied and partner countries, as well as Afghan nationals who have worked for them. Stoltenberg said around 800 NATO civilian personnel working, for example, in air traffic control have remained at Kabul's international airport, working under challenging circumstances, according to Stoltenberg. I would like to thank them, he said. Operations at the airport are resuming and allies are sending additional airplanes. The Secretary General urged the Taliban to respect safe departures of all those wishing to leave. Afghan interpreter who assisted the U.S. military, I helped them, now they should help me. Sounds like a handout. Sounds like a handout, because we built the whole country, so where's our check? An Afghan interpreter who assisted U.S. military and coalition forces on the ground in Afghanistan says he feels abandoned as he struggles to get a special immigrant visa. He knew we were leaving August 31st. Biden put that date out there, so were you doing anything before they rolled out? You were there, so you should have known when they were leaving, because we all knew, and we're way over here in America. The interpreter who has fled Afghanistan and spoke to CNN without appearing on camera remained anonymous as he fears for his safety. He told CNN's Jim Sciutto that he is afraid the Taliban will attack him. These names, okay? And they talk about our names. I worked for U.S. Coalition Army Special Foreign Coalition Forces for about 10 years, so I was highly known and targeted by them. And the people like me, they are never forgiving them and never forgetting them, the interpreter told CNN. He said that if he stayed in Afghanistan, that he would have died. He believes the country will become violent under Taliban rule. At night, they come to your houses, they put hand grenades on them, they kill your kids, they kill the interpreters. So the interpreters are the people that they will never forgive them. He said, noting that the Taliban have been calling interpreters the most dangerous enemy because they are the eyes in front of the U.S. forces. The interpreter said that after a lengthy process to get an interview at the U.S. Embassy, when he applied for a visa with the embassy, it was rejected. Let's see here. Okay, let's play this clip.
Many thousands of Afghans who worked with the Americans over the past 20 years now fear for their lives and their families' lives, afraid of Taliban retribution for helping the U.S. My next guest is an interpreter who worked for the U.S. He has now fled to a neighboring country as he continues to wait for his visa. He fears for his life there, too, because of ties outside the country to the Taliban. I'm going to use only his first name. It is Mohammed. Mohammed, thank you for joining us.
You are quite welcome.
Tell me, you say your life is in danger now because of your work with the Americans. Do you fear that the Taliban will attack you?
Yes, in fact, they attacked me already several times. I have worked for U.S. Army Special Foreign Coalition Forces in U.S. side for about 10 years. So I was highly known and targeted by them. And the people like me, they are never forgiving them and never forgetting them. So,
Do you believe
I had a lot of friends.
The U.S. abandoned you? Do you feel abandoned, betrayed by the U.S. military?
Yes, see, I can tell you one thing. So when the U.S. military left Afghanistan and they closed their works and everything, so many interpreters that we had, most of my friends that we had in our team, they had died. So there was no other way for me to. I was attacked also several times. So I just got one way that I should escape. And escaping from here, there was two chances. I should be died or safe. But staying there, it was definitely dying. Several times they said, if someone gave the resign from the job, we will not kill them. But when people give the resign people, they badly kill. At night, they come to their houses, they put hand grenades on them, they kill their kids, they kill the interpreters. So the interpreter are the people that they will never forgive them. If they say hundreds of times that we are forgiving the interpreter, it is not true. They are not forgiving them. They are only saying this, that someone should not help them and let them there alone, so they should be easily killed. Because they said the most dangerous enemy, they were telling us, they were calling us, that the most dangerous enemy of Taliban and Al-Qaeda is the interpreter. Because the interpreter is the eyes and tongue of the coalition forces in U.S. forces.
I see.
So killing the interpreter is cutting the tongue and make the U.S. Army forces blind. That's why it's too important that they should be killed.
Let me ask you this.
So that was the situation.
You have applied for a visa to come to the U.S. Are you hearing anything from the U.S. government? Are you told when you'll get an answer, or if you will get an answer?
Yeah, I will. It's important questions, and I want to tell you that clearly and with the detail. When I applied in UNHCR searched a lot about me, so UNHCR get complete 100% clear information about me that I am in danger. I had 10 years job with the U.S. coalition forces, and I am targeted, and I have the right to be safe into how the safe place. So the United Nations asked me that how should they help me. It took 1 year, along 1 year, and after 1 year, after the interviews, after searching about me, they asked me that how should they help me. I told them that they should give my case to U.S. Embassy because they know me very well. I have spent 10 years with them and death groaned day and night, and I have worked with faithfully. So they told me, okay, are you agree that we should give your case to the U.S.? I said yes. They are the other countries too, but I was not agree with that. I told them that no, you should give my case to the U.S. When they gave my case to the U.S., the U.S. Got several interviews from the IOM in U.S. Embassy and finally USCIS. When they got my interview, they finally told me that you are rejected for a discretionary reason. There is no reason, but you are rejected.
So you have heard the Taliban say they've made a lot of promises. What do you believe Afghanistan will be like under Taliban control?
See, one thing clearly, I am telling you that you know Taliban very well, that they only know they are not changed, they will not change, and they will never change. They are uneducated people. They know only killing. Even they don't forgive the ill people, the women and children. They know only killing. They are killing innocent people. So we are the criminal for them. How will they forgive us? They will never change for us, ever. They will kill us.
So, okay, he was going a little bit long-winded, but so what I'm gathering from what he was saying, besides him trying to get special privileges and handouts that even African Americans aren't entitled to, apparently, even though we built the whole damn country, and they're still upholding this country is still on our backs, because we're in the prison industrial system, we're being killed outright, we're being arrested for things we haven't done, just so they can make money in their cities. So basically what he's saying is the Taliban is never going to change. They have never changed. And I think with him saying that, I think that he's right. I think that they are definitely probably putting on a fake, like a facade, a fake face for everyone, the whole world, so that we won't come back over there. And they're saying, oh, we're going to respect women's rights, and we're different now. We're just wanting to be seen as, this democratic government, or I can't even say it with a straight face, but anyway, it's clearly a dictatorship, but in a world of tyranny. But I just feel like they are pretending to be more diplomatic so that America and our allies will not go back over there and start another war because they're not being democratic. Excuse me, but like the guy said, behind closed doors, they're going into people's homes and they're putting grenades on them and they're murdering people and so on and so forth. So it seems like on the ground, there's a whole different story from what is being told to the American media. So let me continue to read this. It said, yesterday, President Biden said that in the coming days, the U.S. military will provide assistance to evacuate more Afghans eligible for special immigration visas and their families to the U.S. The president on Monday claimed that the recent evacuations of SIV applicants were not conducted sooner. Perhaps the biggest criticism his administration has received since announcing the withdrawal was because some Afghans did not want to leave before the situation became dire. And see, that's what I mean. I'm like, okay, why weren't you applying for your visa before we left? Everyone knew we were leaving August 31st. which is actually quite concerning as far as national security goes and security of our troops. They should not have known when we were going to depart from Afghanistan. They could have went a lot worse, because a lot of times those attacks happen when we're trying to leave out of the situation, out of the country. So, like President Biden said, the reason why they were not able to get more people out is because a lot of Afghans did not apply for their special visas until after the fact, when they realized, oh, it's really crazy over here, let's apply now. But they won't tell that story, because they are whining and they want to put their hands out they just want people to kiss their ass and like, oh, okay, you decided to put your application in 2 days ago, let me just swoop you right on over here. And my sister, a lot of them actually going to the base where my sister works at, and she said like the locations where they are keeping the Afghans, it looks like a 5-star hotel. Like, it is really, really nice. So I'm like, who's paying for that? While we have black people who are homeless, we have people in Haiti, we have black people all over the world suffering because of white supremacy, but the Afghans get to come over here and live like kings and queens because they worked for them for like, what, 10, 20 years, if that. We worked for America for 500 years. So where's my hotel set up? My nice living space and my handouts and all the money and everything else that they're going to spend on them. Where's our stuff? Where's our check? Because I really want reparations. I don't want a handout. I want reparations. That's a debt owed. We already did the work. When people try to say something about reparations, I tell them it's like a contract. Like, would you have a contract to come build your whole house, and then you tell them, oh, you're just looking for a handout. They built your whole house. Pay them. So he again sought to blame the Afghan government, claiming its leaders are afraid of the optics. So this is just a lot of hoopla. This is the Pentagon says there's no plan to help Afghans in other parts of the country to get to the airport. So we're done. That's basically the consensus for us as Americans. We are done, okay? We did our 20 years. We were there longer than we should have been. And we are done. It's like, hold your own nuts, as Tariq Nasheed would say. That's where we're at right now. That's where America's at. Hold your own nuts. We got other business to do. We got other stuff to take care of. So that's my take on it. I'm sorry. I had to vent. I'm just over it. I'm just like, it is taking over all the news segments. I'm trying to watch my news, and all I see is Afghanistan. And I'm just like, my children are about to start school. I'm worried about COVID. I'm worried about where's the vaccine for the children under 12 so my son can be safe and all my babies can be safe. I'm worried about so many other things as an American, as a black American. So I'm just like, I'm tired of hearing about it. Like someone said that because of what's going on in Afghanistan, it's overshadowing what's going on in Haiti. They're having natural disasters. Like they're dealing with stuff that they didn't have any control over. And then they just lost their president. Ugh, so over it. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I'm over it. This is how this American feels. I'm over it. I would like to get back to the discussion of reparations and signing the HR 40 bill and paying us so we can stop being under white supremacy rule. Why don't we put that message out there? Because America's afraid of the optics of everyone knowing that America hates black people and they're still oppressing us. So okay. I'm done for the day with this story anyway. You guys, until I see you again, take care of yourselves and each other. Peace, love, and light. Make sure to wear your mask and get vaccinated. This coronavirus is no joke. I did everything right and still got sick. It wasn't COVID, thank God. But I feel like it could have been worse if I didn't have my vaccine. So yeah. And I'll see you guys. Make sure to like, share, subscribe if you feel like my content is helpful to you. And then, of course, if you don't like it, change the channel. And you guys have a great day. Peace.